Hey, Rocky Peak, it's great to be with you. My name is Joey. I'm on staff here at the church, and welcome to the first day of Prayer Week here at Rocky Peak, where our heart is really to create a culture of prayer here at Rocky Peak. We're really excited about all that we have planned this week, and one of the things that we're going to be doing all week long is having these conversations with some of our pastors and directors about the ways that they encounter God through prayer, some of the prayer practices that they use. You know, there's so many different ways that we can enter into prayer with God, into our relationship with God, and so we're going to be talking with some of our pastors and directors about the ways that they do that. And the first one that we have today on Monday is with Pastor Tim Schoen. How's it going, Tim?
Hey, it's going great, Joey. Thanks for having me here.
Definitely. Tim, you are the high school pastor here at the church, and that's something that you've been doing for quite a long time. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been doing that, going over 11 years now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. Thank you for serving for that long. It's, I know, a huge gift to our students. One of the ways that you said that you encounter God through prayer is specifically through prayer walks. So I was wondering when those kind of became a significant aspect of your relationship with God for the first time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I didn't even notice when it first started happening, but I think when it really kind of hit a high point for me was during the pandemic. There were a lot of ministry challenges. There were a lot of life challenges, and we were all cooped up inside for so long. There were just times I just needed to go, and I needed to vent with God and process with God and put in a significant number of miles without even thinking about it, just because walking felt like the best way to process what was going on.
Yeah, that's cool. What made specifically walking kind of different than staying stationary, kind of sitting in prayer? You know, that's kind of the typical prayer posture that we picture, with our hands folded. What made actually getting out and moving? How did that enrich your time with God?
Yeah, you know what? I think there's something about walking that just helps you process through what's going on in your mind a little better than sometimes sitting down or being stationary. I think even sometimes in our personal relationships with people, I realized early in my marriage, I'm with the woman who matters the most to me in the entire world, and sitting across, I just sometimes it would be harder to get things out than if we were out on a walk just in the neighborhood, and the ideas and the thoughts would flow better if we were just walking side by side. And I feel really similar about taking those walks with God. It's like walking side by side with Him. It's like we can just process whatever's going on. Something about the motion and the movement just kind of seems to unpack those thoughts better, especially when there are difficult things that I'm having trouble finding the words for, or when there are problems or concerns that it's hard for me to totally unknot on my own. It gives me the time and the space to think that through with the Lord, and maybe just even be silent with Him while moving through the neighborhood or the hills or wherever it is that I happen to be.
Yeah, totally. And there is something special about that kind of shoulder to shoulder time that I think for some people's brains, I think just kind of helps relationally to feel safer to open up. What kind of intentionality do you enter with? Is this a regular part of your rhythm? Do you do it a certain times of the day, certain times of the week with consistency, or is it more free flowing?
If I'm physically feeling anxious or antsy, or a lot of pent up energy, or I'm in a spot where I'm just feeling bored sitting where I am. A lot of times if I'm in the same zone, the same place that I'm all the time, it can be really easy for me to have it be almost overly routine. And so there will be times then where I'll get out and take a walk, maybe take a route that I haven't taken before, just to kind of be in a fresh spot with God. And then there are other times where there's something really difficult, and I'm sitting down for my normal prayer time, and it just feels like this is something heavy on my heart, is really weighing on me, but I just can't find the right way to unpack it with God. And so then it's okay, put on the walking shoes, grab a bottle of water, something, head out and spend some significant time. But also, for whatever reason, it just feels a lot less, I don't even know if intimidating is the right word, but it feels like I'm able to take my time to process with God more easily because I'm doing something else while I'm in that zone.
Do you typically bring anything with you? Do you listen to music? Do you listen to the Bible, or is it just kind of you talking to God on your own?
If I'm going out for specifically for a prayer walk, then I'll intentionally kind of bring as little with me as possible. And I found a lot of times it's easier for me to let those other things almost intentionally distract me from really having conversation, and I'll trade in listening to worship music, which is great, for spending time in conversation about the topic that I know I'm kind of avoiding talking with him about anyway. And so for me to really go over those difficult things in those times, I got to leave some of that stuff behind.
Yeah, totally. Have you ever gone anywhere specific to have like a prayer walk, or is it typically kind of around your house, around here at the church?
It's usually where I am at the time. And so I spent a lot of time in different parts of my neighborhood, exploring different places. I love walking on our campus. There's just something about the view of the valley that oftentimes in the middle of whatever I'm praying for, it'll just feel like God will use that view to remind me of all the people who are still out there, who are living lives in desperate need of the hope that Jesus offers. And so a lot of times too, it helps bring perspective to whatever like little problem that feels huge to me that I'm kind of like wrestling with God on. To remember like, oh man, like what Jesus has done for us is amazing. And the hope that can offer to people who desperately need it in the valleys that we serve is just so important to keep whatever it is that I'm wrestling with in proper perspective before God and his mission.
Yeah, and I think being outside, being in nature really contributes to that feeling, right? How would you encourage someone if they wanted to try this as a prayer practice? How would you encourage someone to start?
Start with 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the neighborhood and a topic, and just spend some time talking to God about that. Let your thoughts kind of bounce around and touch on different things. The same way you would if you were walking with a close friend. Like your conversation isn't going to always be centered around a single topic. Let it be a little freeform. Let it be a little unplanned. And then the more you start doing it, like start taking walks in places you haven't been before. Start exploring a little bit.
Yeah. Tim, thank you so much for sharing just your experience with prayer walks and what that's meant in your spiritual journey. We actually have a really cool opportunity today, if you're watching this video the day that it came out on Monday. Here at the church, like we said, we have a beautiful campus here. It's a great place to take prayer walks. And so you're going to be leading a prayer walk today at 6 o'clock, Monday, 6 p.m. Here at the church. If you want to be a part of that, I think that's going to be a really cool opportunity just to practice this if this is something that you feel drawn to. But either way, we're glad that you're joining us for this whole week here at Rocky Peak. We're excited about all that we have in store, all that we think God is going to do here this week as we encounter God through prayer and really create that culture of prayer here at Rocky Peak. So we'll see you guys next time.